Hi guys, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. This is T. This was our hotel room that we stayed in. Rooms at York. Beautiful hotel room. It's more of an apartment. You can stay there for just under £100 for the night. That's how much we paid. And you get your own apartment with its own cooker, microwave, dishwasher, which we was very shocked at. The TV you can cast to. Oh yeah, there's the kitchen. Everything's operated by the card that gets you into your room. And here is the bathroom. Beautiful bathroom. This building here is actually haunted, and it's actually a Christmas shop that you can go into all year long. Two little ghosts haunt this building. This shop is Oliver Bonus. Master Thomas haunts this shop, and he scares children when they go in. He's not a very nice man, apparently. And this shop is actually an antique shop. This is where a little girl fell to her death between the staircase and landed at the bottom. She still haunts the shop to this day. So as we approach down here, I'm actually recording the church because there was a couple with some children and I didn't really want to get them on camera. This church is actually the church that Guy Fawkes was baptised in, and on your left hand side here is actually the Guy Fawkes Inn. It is somewhere you can come and have a meal, and you can stay and sleep. And there's actually a sticker on the window stating that Guy Fawkes came here with his co-conspirators. Yeah, here's the sticker. Born here 1570. Here we have the York Minster. The York Minster has its own ghost story. The stories of two ladies got separated from their group that on a tour they were on, and they saw a gentleman in navy gear. He approached one of the ladies and whispered something into her ear. when she came to realise who the man was, it was her brother who had died at sea, and he'd come back to let her know there was life after death, and they'd made this pact in life that one or the other will say to the other, when the other one has died, that there is life after death. Isn't that a nice thought, that he came back and he did tell her? I think that's really nice. And here on the right hand side is the church opposite Guy Fawkes Inn. Guy Fawkes was actually baptised here in this church, and they still have the actual document from his baptism. You can visit this church and you can actually go see the actual form that says that he was baptised here. And again, on the left, York Minster, and if you walk down here, oh yeah, beautiful building. Carry on walking down here, you go towards Bedden, and down here is also back towards the Plague House, and also takes you back into the centre of York if you go by the little red shop. Our next stop is the Plague House. If you go down here, this is where you'll find it. I didn't want to stand there that long, as somebody actually does live in this house, and they'll be sick to death of the tors and everything that stops outside the house. Anyone who watches this, if you want to spend a night here and do a ghost walk, may I recommend Mackenzie from Shadows of York Ghost Tours. She's amazing. Throughout lockdown, she's been keeping everyone entertained with 3 ghost tours and live videos that are free. Anyway, the Plague House, it's the little white building there. The name is self-explanatory. When the plague hit Europe, York wasn't safe from it. This little house dates back to then, and the story goes there was a couple who lived inside who were so afraid of contracting the deadly disease, they sent their little girl out for supplies at the shambles. We'll be exploring there later. One day the little girl returned home and her mother noticed under her arm a red rash. She spoke to her husband and the little girl's fate was sealed. She went to bed one night and the little girl didn't realise she had said her last goodbye to her parents. During the night, when the little girl slept, her father locked her in her room and the parents fled. The little girl woke in the morning, couldn't get out of her room, she couldn't find her parents. She shouted for help from her window, and some passing monks tried to help, but they saw the red cross on the door and they decided not to help. The little girl died in her room, not from the plague, but from starvation. She's still seen to this day out of the little window in the top corner. So next we move on to the Treasurer's house. This beautiful home was built in 1419 and was built for the Treasurer of the Minster. The house is situated just behind the plague house. The house is The house is a Grade 1 listed building and is now owned and maintained by the National Trust. In 1617, the house played host to royalty. King James I attended the house and was entertained by Sir George Young. The house was restored by Frank Green. Once all the work was done, Frank retired and moved from York in the 1930s. The house was actually built over a Roman road that ran diagonally under the house towards Hadrian's Wall. So there is actually a famous story with the Treasurer's house. An apprentice named Harry Martindale was sorting the pipes in the basement of the house. After a few hours of work, Harry became aware of a musical sound. The sound grew intensely. Harry looked down from his ladder and he reported that he saw soldiers wearing plumed helmets emerge from the wall, followed by a cart horse and 9 or 10 pairs of soldiers. Harry fell from his ladder and obviously was scared and terrified. The soldiers seemed to be armed legionnaires, only visible from the knees up. They carried round shields, carried some kind of daggers in a scabbard, and wore green tunics. When Harry came forward with these details, no one believed him, as Romans were always known to wear red. Excavations in the city many years later revealed that the local Roman soldiers did in fact wear green. Harry has never altered his story and he has always swore by it. So we're going to go back round, yes again, behind the minster. It's absolutely beautiful. If you take another left, you go back towards the plague house. There it is, that's the front. Funny story, the woman who bought this house actually didn't know the history of this place and didn't understand why people were standing underneath the window and taking pictures of her house. It wasn't until one of the ghost tours actually told her about it, that your house has a ghost of a little girl in it. So that's the little tiny window where she's spotted. She doesn't really appear much anymore. This building here, when Simon moves, is the college. I believe that this college was built for the monks of the Minster. I can't quite remember, I'll have to have a look at that. But on one of the ghost walks you do actually come to this building. It's a beautiful building. Built in the 1400s, I believe. Now this is the Snickle Way Inn. It's apparently the most haunted pub in Great Britain. But if you actually go in, the people that work there say they've actually never ever seen anything or heard anything, which is a bit strange. And I believe it's the building just at the side of it. There is the ghost of Marmaduke Buckle. His name is actually inscribed on the wall. He was a young man who hung himself in the 1700s as he had a learning disability, and obviously back then they frowned upon people who were quote unquote different. So I didn't know if that was poo or not, I'm sorry. So if you carry on walking down here, you come to another row of houses. These houses are the last set of houses that remain from the 1300s, and you'll see in a minute how tiny their doorways were. So my husband, who is 6 foot, has to crouch down when he enters these buildings. Bridal shop. I think this one's a Chinese. Yeah, it is Happy Valley. Our Ladies Row, Good Ramgate. It's the oldest surviving row of houses in York. This little church, a headless body has been seen walking around. Some believe it's the body of Sir Thomas Percy looking for his head, as Sir Thomas Percy was executed not far from this little church. Shops. Loads of shops. I'm really sorry about this, guys. I, for some reason, stood and recorded this entertainer. But the funny little bit is that you've got your York Chocolate Story on the right, beautiful lemonade stand. The actual part where all them people are is actually the original steps up to the altar of a church that was once here. So yeah, if you saw the first video, you'll know at this part there's just so many dead bodies underneath. And there's the shambles, but we're not going down there just yet. We're watching this guy mess about with fire. He picks on a poor kid called Harrison. Spoiler alert. This goes on for some time. If you really want to skip ahead, you can. I don't blame you. I would. So here we are on the Shambles, in the Shambles Tavern. It's one of the oldest surviving butcher shops from what used to stand here originally. There is a ghost in there. You can actually watch it on Chills and Nuke Top 5's YouTube channel. A guy that was stood behind the till had a load of stuff thrown at him. The Shambles is amazing. There's the market. As I said before, the light's flickering is because of the resolution I had my camera in. On the left here is actually a little alcohol shop. Shh, didn't tell you that. The Shambles is very, very busy. So if you're wanting to have a little wander around the Shambles, you do have to try and keep your distance, even though it's very hard. There's lots of weird and wonderful things down the Shambles. Towards the end, if you're a Harry Potter fan, I am. I've been in all the shops. Doesn't that look creepy? Especially on a night. So this building here on the right is Margaret Clitheroe's house. There we go. She is known as the Pearl of York. She became a martyr after her death, as she was hiding priests in the priest hole. If you carry on towards the bottom there, you can see the Golden Fleece. That's where we will be heading. There you go, there's the Harry Potter shops, the shop that must not be named. Yet again another Christmas shop, the Nutcracker shop. Very busy. Try not to get children on the camera. Now the interesting thing is the road is built like this for a reason. Market again. More Harry Potter shops. Yeah, the road is built like this because when it was originally a butcher shop, well, when they were all butcher shops, they would put their meat out, as you can see I'm pointing, they would put their meat out on the windowsills and the blood would drain down. And there's the Golden Fleece. The Golden Fleece pub, one of the most haunted pubs in Britain. The inn is still in operation and you can nip in for a pint or maybe a meal, and you can even stay the night. There's so many stories in this inn. The famous story in the inn is of Lady Anne Peckett. Her husband was mayor and owned the adjoining building next door, which is now the York Gin Shop. Following Anne's death, customers began seeing sightings of Lady Peckett throughout the building, mostly so in the Lady Anne Peckett room, which you can sleep in. Another famous story in the Fleece is that of the World War II Canadian airman. He was staying at the top of the inn, but it's still to this day unknown whether his death was a suicide or it was accidental. He fell from the top window and landed on the street below, breaking his neck in the process. One of the other well-known spirits, and that's not just the ones behind the bar, is known as One-Eyed Jack. He appears to guests and he's seen wearing red boots and a 16th century coat and pistol. There are several more ghosts known in the Fleece, but I don't want to ruin it for you. Are you brave enough to spend a night at the inn? I know I am. And the Golden Fleece was on Most Haunted with Richard Felix in 2005. And if you saw my part 1 video, you will know that they've now had a little poll on Facebook and called the Ram Dave. I'm not even lying, you can go check that out. Seriously, go look. The video will be ending here when we walk into the Fleece. as unfortunately we didn't have enough time and we had to leave. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, because I had fun making it, and I will see you in the next one, guys.